It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's a Monday, so you know what that means. Rinse and repeat. Here we go again.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when it hits the fan.
And it does. Daily on this program.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Okay, a couple of related stories to start your day here, and I just admit right up front here, this is going to kind of annoy you, but okay. Let's go to Florida. Judge rules that non-citizens can't be discriminated against in voting matters. Now, hang on. That doesn't necessarily mean voting. In preventing non-citizens from engaging in voter registration drives, it's discrimination that violates the 14th Amendment, the judge said. So that's not about them voting, but that's a voter drive to get other people to vote. Federal judge in Florida thinks so, ruled against a Florida law that bars illegal aliens from engaging in voter registration drives. Wow. Okay, so the story directly from Tallahassee. A federal judge has permanently blocked part of a 2023 Florida elections law that placed new restrictions on voter registration groups, including preventing non-U.S. citizens from collecting or handling registration applications. See, now there's where you wind up in trouble with this, right? Chief U.S. District Judge issued an injunction Wednesday against part of the law that targeted non-citizens, saying it violated the U.S. Constitution Equal Protection Clause. The Hispanic Federation and individual plaintiffs challenged the law after Governor Ron DeSantis said the legislators had approved his restrictions. Quote, here plaintiffs have suffered and continue to suffer irreparable injuries. I hate it when people do that. Oh, that drives me nuts. Irreparable harm. I hear that in so many different ways. I mean, go up to an area to cut some trees down. It'll do irreparable harm. No, trees can grow back. This idea, it's irreparable injury. No one is injured, and it's not irreparable. But anyway, indeed, individual members in this cause have been unconstitutionally discriminated against based on their non-citizenship status. This discrimination has prevented plaintiffs from registering new voters. Okay, stop right here. Judge, hey, listen. They're not a member of our club, so they can't engage in it. Now, by member of the club, they're not U.S. citizens. Therefore, they're not allowed to do what U.S. citizens can do. If they want to do what we do, they need to become U.S. citizens. The first thing to becoming a U.S. citizen is enter the country legally. Then they can work their way towards citizenship. And when they become citizens, then they can engage in activities like this. But non-citizens who are not here legally can't do that. I mean, how would you and I like to go ahead and pick up and move to pick a foreign country? We'll go there and try to influence their elections. And it talks about decisions being ruled earlier by okay, it gives a little bit of backstory to this whole thing. Now, here in Wyoming, and I sent that story to our Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, but he had a problem. I was in his office visiting one day, and he showed me a letter written to him by basically the Wyoming bureaucracy saying Wyoming does not have a law that prevents non-citizens from voting. Now, if you're thinking presidential election, I would have to double-check to see. In most cases, that does not mean presidential election. There's some cities around the country that allow non-citizens to vote, but only in the city part of the elections. Red as in Casper. They are inching towards it. Why would they need a registration if they can't vote? Yeah. Oh, by the way, somebody sent me this today. Now, it comes in two parts. So now this is a video. And there's a guy driving down the street in his truck talking to his phone. Talking to us through his phone.
Wow, look what's in Mexico in the porter potties at the migrant centers for all of the migrants that are heading to the United States.
So someone goes into a porta potty. So there's migrant centers in Mexico on the border and in other places. And these are places where they can set up camp, essentially. And while they're using the porta potty, taped to the wall is a note typed out, which asks people when you get to America, make sure you vote to keep Biden in office, because that's the only way we can continue doing what we're doing by moving into America. Now, why would you need something for non-citizens to go to America and vote for Biden? And that's when he asks.
A flyer that says to vote for Biden? But how would they even be able to vote? Our elections have never been more secure. Stupids.
Yeah, so anyway, funny video, but makes a really serious point about this. So in the Florida case, I look at that as something that's going to end up going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it should. And this is not over. The judge ruling something like this, we're not done. This will just move its way up the ranks. And, yeah, Florida has every right to do this. I'll just say it again. Non-citizens, people who are not citizens of America, do not have the right to participate in our elections in any way. It's just that simple. Now, I know you don't need an example, but, again, let's take an example. Let's go ahead. We'll just pack up, pick a country that has elections, any country, and we're just going to pack up. We're going to go to that country, and we're going to go around trying to register people to vote for a particular candidate. And I guarantee we're going to get in trouble because we're not citizens of that country. We have no right to meddle in their elections. That's their business. What are Americans doing in their country meddling in their elections? We shouldn't be doing that. I know if you're thinking, but the CIA has meddled in elections before. Yeah, I know. Point is, we shouldn't be doing that. And other countries should not, people from other countries should not be meddling in our election. Who our president is, even if they have an interest, boy, we would do a lot better if Biden were president. It's none of your business who our president is. You're not a citizen. You don't get to participate. That's why I get a laugh out of the judge saying, this is doing irreparable harm to it. They shouldn't be here, first off. They're here illegally. And they're not citizens, therefore they have no right to participate. It just really is that simple.
So I just went to the grocery store, was going through the meat section, and apparently some of them PETA just came through and put stickers on the meat packages that had the name of the cow and said, this is what my name used to be. Well, I still call you by that name. I don't really care, Millie, or whatever your name was, because I plan on eating you and your whole family. So you tell Betsy and Blue I'm coming for their asses, too. They put the wrong sticker on this cow. They should have named her Delicious.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire. The situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but I'm just happy.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So, all right, if you're just joining me, judge in the state of Florida, and this will be brought up to higher courts, said that the state of Florida cannot prevent non-citizens from engaging in voter recruitment. running around trying to get people to vote for Biden and stuff like that. And he said it was irreparable harm to their constitutional rights and so on. That judge is nuts. He needs to be removed from the bench. And, of course, non-citizens are not allowed to participate in our process in any way, as far as I'm concerned, because they're not citizens. They're not part of our club. If they become citizens, that starts with entering the country legally, and then working from there, then they can go ahead and participate. But as non-citizens, no. Now, I did have a conversation in the Secretary of State's office here in Wyoming. He was showing me that he was told, basically, by the LSO, this is the people who run the offices, do the paperwork and so on for the state, that Wyoming does not have any law that prevents non-citizens from voting. And usually the way this works is unless there's a law against it, then it's not illegal. Now, I decided to go ahead and take a look. This is from a website called Ballotpedia, which has a lot of election information on it. Laws permitting non-citizens to vote in the United States. So according to the Pew Research Center, there are 25 million non-citizens living in the U.S. as of 2020. That included approximately, and it talks about who all of these people are. And some of them are here legally on work visas, most are not. But that's of 2020. That number's a lot bigger now. In 1996, U.S. Congress passed a law prohibiting non-citizens from voting in federal elections, including elections in the U.S. House and Senate and presidential elections. Now, that does not apply to state and local offices. So, as of May 2024, no state constitution explicitly allows non-citizens to vote in state elections. The District of Columbia municipalities in 3 states allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. 6 states approved ballot measures related to citizens' requirements for voting. These states will have similar ballot measures in the 2024 election. 7 states prohibited non-citizens from voting in state and local elections. Jim is in Casper. At this juncture, the Liberals have completely thrown out the U.S. Constitution and have the Justice Department to back them up. We are in a quasi-dictatorship. Yeah, okay. So I'm looking at a map here of states that allow and do not allow non-citizens to vote. California, of course, allows non-citizens to vote. Yeah, that's one of, let me see, Delaware and Vermont allow non-citizens to vote. Now, if we go to, let's see, Florida, Alabama, states like this, here's a bunch of states that prohibit non-citizens voting. But again, there's certain states that have it on the books that non-citizens cannot vote in local elections. And then I see 3 states here that have it on the ballot to ask the question, should non-citizens be allowed to vote in local elections? But as far as federal elections go, they're not supposed to be allowed to vote in federal elections. Now, in California, in Oakland, 2022, voters in Oakland approved a charter amendment which she adopted an ordinance to authorize non-citizen residents who, or parents or legal guardians and so on. It gets into a lot of legalese here. So that would be Oakland, California, and San Francisco have allowed non-citizens. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't Vermont. Maryland is one of those places, and it shows all the different cities in Maryland where non-citizens. Oh, there is Vermont, too, that are allowed to vote in local elections. Now, states that have non-citizen voting prohibited in local elections: Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Louisiana, North Dakota, and Ohio. But see, again, Wyoming's not mentioned here. And so we don't have any law that says they can or can't. And that's why our Wyoming Secretary of State was handed a note saying, we don't have anything in Wyoming that says they can't. So in other words, we need to get that on the books to say that they can't. Now, it's supposed, here's my thought, though. When it comes to, let's say, someone going into a local election polling place to vote on a city council election. Okay, and county commissioners. That would be a local election, right? What's preventing them as a non-citizen from getting a ballot where they can go ahead and vote for president too? I know they're not supposed to get it, but would they? I would think they probably would. That can happen. All right, so I think in some way, and especially when we have ballot drop boxes, that's very difficult. We've had problems with ballot drop boxes in past elections. So here's someone who's not a citizen, they're not supposed to be voting, and yet we're trying to find cracks to let them through to participate in the process. I think that Florida judge gets overruled at some point, but we have to wait for this to make its way up the process. Coming up on 628, local news coming your way. After local news, update on your weather forecast. Extended weather forecast at 6:45. By the way, that does include a good amount of rain for the area for today, which is pretty much just getting underway. Some of you folks out there are getting wet. Other people, nothing yet, but hang in there. We'll keep you posted on that. It's a Monday. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wednesday.
Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. Here you are, bright-tailed and bushy-eyed and ready to face the week, right? All right, so story came up that I've been complaining about this for a while, but it hit one of Wyoming newspapers, and I thought, it's worth talking about again. So the headline is, let me find it again. Here we go. Casper City Council has speed on its mind. And it has to do with, in Casper, Wyoming, Outer Drive, what they call it, or Wyoming Boulevard. And they're taking a look at the speed limit for it, right? Now, this is the same problem I noticed in Gillette, Wyoming. They have an outer drive that goes around the outside of town, sort of on the southern end of town, right? And there's other places. I mean, even Cheyenne has a few roads that do this, and there's other towns and so on. It depends on where you are. If you're in a small town, you don't have to worry about this too much. But the problem is, as I see it, as they try to struggle with, well, what should the speed limit be? I keep saying, could you towns out there pick a speed? It doesn't matter if I'm in Gillette or Casper or Cheyenne or some other places. And sometimes it's not an outer drive, it's a road that goes through town. And the speed limit just keeps on changing all the way through. And that's what drives me absolutely nuts. Pick a speed. So, for example, there's I'll go to Casper again. There's a road, Poplar, which if you start at the south end, then it goes all the way to the north end of town and joins up with the interstate, right? And the speed limit goes from 30 to 35 to 40, back down to 30 again in a very short period of time. And there's other roads. If you use their outer drive or Wyoming Boulevard, it'll go from 40 to 60, back down to 40 again. And then for a short period of time, it jumps up to 50, then drops back down to 40 again. Pick a speed, if you would. So whatever the conversation, because I didn't really read through the article, it's just that they're talking about this one particular road. What do we do about the speed here? Whatever you do, whatever the decision is on the speed limit, pick a speed and would you stick with it? And I noticed that driving around Gillette, again, their version of an outer drive, but also there's some roads in Gillette as well, where the speed limit changes, and in just a very short distance, you're driving along at 35, suddenly it says 50, 30. In a very short period what was the point of that? Pick a speed and keep it on the entire road all the way through. I think that would be a lot easier for everybody to know that once I get on this road, if I just go ahead and keep at this speed, I'm good all the way through. Mills, Wyoming, I'm happy to see them. If let's say you're coming from west, you left Shoshone, you're on Highway 2026, and driving into Mills, and so the speed limit was 70, but suddenly it drops down to 40 because you're in town. And and this is the main road through Mills, and it stays 40 the whole way. They don't jump it up and down anywhere. It's 40. So I know that if I'm going through the main road right through the middle of Mills, I'm at 40 the whole way. So for anybody who might be on any city council anywhere in Wyoming, as far as I'm concerned, if you would please, whatever speed limit you pick is fine with me. I don't care. I'm good. Could you just pick one and stick with it? Especially that area that I mentioned on Wyoming Boulevard, or Outer Drive as they call it, in Casper. So there's a area where there's a stoplight, and the speed limit was 60, and then just before the stoplight they drop it to 40. And get to the stoplight, let's say you catch the red light there, you were going 40 just before the stoplight. And if you think, well, there's got to be houses and stuff in the area. No, there's none. It's a steep hill. Nobody's built anywhere on either side. And then the light changes. Now you're going to go down the hill, and it's 50 miles an hour until you get to the bottom of it, which is not that far, and then suddenly it drops to 40 again. And it's a very short distance. Please, I've been asking this for years of city councils and counties all across Wyoming. When you're looking at a road, pick a speed and just stick with it. In fact, I've seen some towns around Wyoming, they have a sign as you enter the town. Most time I don't notice it, but sometimes there is a sign that says, speed limit 30 inside town unless otherwise posted. How about this? Just a thought. Speed limit 30 inside town. Period. There. It's all settled. Nobody's confused anymore.
Do I point out that it's not cow? Like, hamburger is a pig. Everyone knows ham comes from pig.
Holy Moses on a rocket-powered pogo stick. Bless her heart. Wait till she finds out about buffalo wings. It's going to absolutely blow her damn mind.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
6:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go, where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Good weekend for you, Frank?
Well, let's see. The weather for the state track meet on Saturday was very pleasant.
Okay.
On Friday, it sucked.
Yes. Okay. I started off with very nice Saturday weather, and then that wind kicked up later in the afternoon, and it just got difficult.
Yeah, I had no. It was not fun.
No.
But you know what? Our kids.
Yeah.
They're a resilient bunch.
Yeah.
No matter if it was 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour.
Yep.
They got there.
They will complain about it later in life. Right now, they don't care.
Right.
So, a Yellowstone worker learned the hard way. If you're going to put your bear spray, leave it in the car. Don't put it out in the sun in your car.
Oh, did it explode?
It exploded, and it traveled about 100 feet after it went through the windshield. It went about 100 feet and hit another car.
Wow.
Yeah. If that had hit somebody, that would have killed somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a rocket. So I guess the moral of the story is if you have bear spray in that part of the country, which is a good idea, make sure that the bear spray is kept someplace out of the sun. Don't leave it in the hot car.
No, not at all.
It becomes a bomb.
It could be blinding.
Yes, it could. Now, I would.
And how do you wash that stuff off?
There's the thing. It's got a lot of stuff in there which is highly irritable for a bear. So, I mean, imagine for a human. I would, however, like to have an exploding can of this stuff, a rocket-powered exploding can of this stuff, when there's a bear nearby.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah, okay. No. So if I'm looking at a picture here of the hole in the windshield of the car. Oh my God. I mean, and then they draw a line here so here's the car, and then the other car that's about 100 feet away. This is how it had to fly that distance in order to get there. So the thing went through the windshield and sort of arced out across the parking lot and hit another car. Wow. Okay. Now I
didn't see that coming. Neither did them.
I knew that things like that could explode in your car. I mean, there's things you don't leave in your car. Or for that matter, I've warned people, don't put that soda in the freezer. You'll forget about it. It'll blow up. So now we got to tell people that about the bear spray.
All right, we got it covered. State high school track and field meet wrapped up on Saturday in Casper. On the girls' side, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East had a weekend to remember. She set the overall state record in the long jump, the overall state record in the 100-meter dash, and the overall state record in the 200-meter dash. She'll continue her track career at the University of Wyoming. Also on the girls' side, Cheyenne Central's Carson Temple won the triple jump. Kelly Walsh's Tegan Becker placed first in the shot put, and the Trona's Bryn Cyber won the discus. Her teammate Allie Wheeler of NC won the 3,200-meter run. Laramie, their girls won the 4x400 and 4x800 meter relays. Kelly Walsh took the 4x100. Sheridan won the 4A team title for the ladies. Lander in 3A, Kemmerer in 2A, and Cokeville in 1A. On the boys' side, Kelly Walsh's Landon Walker won 2 events, the long jump and the triple jump. His teammate Caleb Ortberg won the 110 hurdles. Natrona's Caven Hoff placed first in the pole vault, and Cheyenne Central won the 4x800 relay. Sheridan won the team title in 3A, Douglas in 4A, Douglas in 3A, Bighorn in 2A, and Burlington in 1A. High school soccer, the season ended over the weekend in Sweetwater County. In 4A girls, Kelly Walsh repeated as the state champions with a 3-2 double overtime win over Jackson. In 4A boys, Kelly Walsh took the top of the podium with a 4-0 win over Cheyenne Central. In 3A girls, Lander beat Cody 2-1 for the state championship, and in 3A boys, Cody over Green River for that state title. The state high school softball tournament concluded on Saturday in Gillette. Thunder Basin won the state championship with a 10-0 win over Cheyenne East in that title game. Thunder Basin has now won the state title 3 years in a row, and East has finished second 2 years in a row. In the NBA playoffs, a monumental choke by the Denver Nuggets. They lost Game 7 of their playoff series at home to Minnesota last night, 98-90. The Nuggets blew a 20-point lead in the third quarter as Minnesota surged ahead with a 32-9 run. Denver will go down in the history books as the team that blew the largest lead in a Game 7 in the playoffs in the last 25 years. Plus, they lost 3 games of the series at home. Minnesota will play Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, and Indiana will take on Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's it in sports.
So what happened? They just run out of energy?
Two of the games in the series, they played terrible.
Oh, okay.
Champions don't play like that.
Yeah.
Where you play like crap. You don't.
All right.
Not at any time in the playoffs. And they did it twice, and then they did it in the second half of this game. They have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah, well, I wonder when you get that far ahead, at some point, do they
just get complacent.
Complacent, or do they just run out of energy? It was exhausting getting that far ahead. Now they don't have any energy left to finish it.
Sometimes it works out that the team that has to rally expends a lot of energy, but Minnesota had energy to burn.
All right. Well, in other words, they just blew it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. And it's going to be national news, local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Phone number is 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. Listen to those weather forecasts. Some rain moving through the area, and quite a bit of it, too. It's still building, though, so not everybody's getting rain yet, but it's still building. Don Day will be on at 7:45 with me live, and we'll go ahead and talk about that weather forecast that's going to shape up not just your Monday, possibly your Tuesday, too. It's Wake Up Wyoming. The time. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. Quite a few of us are going to get wet today. Don Day will explain in his extended forecast at 7:45.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when it hits the fan.
It does every single day on this program, 5 days a week from 6 to 10 o'clock. This is not going to be the topic for the first segment of this hour. I'm just updating you guys because I haven't looked at it in a while. There is a thing called climateclock.world. That's the website address, climateclock.world. And it's basically the extinction clock, right? And they have a countdown. We've done countdowns before. Remember Al Gore? Let me look this up real quick. And again, this is not the main topic for this hour. Did Al Gore say we... I got to be careful doing this because I know social media will probably censor out my question here. It was 20... Okay, good. Back in 2016, Al Gore said we had 10 years to make some radical changes, which we haven't made, by the way. Or we pass a tipping point and it's over. So, I mean, he's not the only one. There's been plenty of other people who've said we have to, by this time, pass this, we have to. Oh, I'm sorry, it was supposed to have happened in 2016. So we long passed it. That tipping point, we reached it in 2016. We are long past it by now. Okay, so we're still here. So this website, climateclock.world, says we have 5 years, 63 days, 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 20 seconds. I'm looking at their countdown clock. If we don't do anything by then, it's too late. We reach a tipping point. And it's all over. How they think they can be so precise, I don't know. But I just thought I'd give you the update. All right. Let's go down to Colorado real quick. Hey, Colorado, you're up. There's a headline that we have. Some towns will happily pay you to move out of Colorado. I'm just saying, guys, if you want to come here to Wyoming, we do have a citizenship oath before you take up residency here, just so you know. So you don't bring Colorado to us. And by the way, you've been Californiaized, most of you in Colorado, so just in case you didn't know. That's why your state's such a mess right now. Story says if you're considering moving out of the state of Colorado, you might want to make sure it is worth it for you and your family, which it is. And what do I mean by that? He says it's simple, really. You can get paid to move out of the state of Colorado to a new town. Dozens of small towns throughout the United States are offering incentives for you to relocate you and your family to small towns around the country. Would you like to leave Colorado? They can do the same thing for California, Illinois, New York, places like that. Some of these communities are offering more than $17,000 in incentives to relocate to their town. Plus, who wouldn't want to get a little extra cash when you're considering moving out of Colorado in the first place? It's been on your mind. The town of Memphis offers $10,000 cash if you move to Memphis. Another community, Texarkana, Texas, $17,100 in perks, not cash. As part of that incentive is $5,000 cash for relocating expenses to be paid to your relocating expenses. 25% tuition discount if you go to A&M in Texarkana. So if it's time for you to call another state and take advantage of those offers to move out of the state, there's a website for that, makeyourmove.com. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I am not aware, since I'm here in Wyoming, that Wyoming does anything like this, but I'm going to go ahead and click it to see region, communities, region. So I'm going to go ahead and see Rocky Mountains, Colorado, Idaho. I can go ahead and click on Wyoming. Now, I don't know if that means we're going to get something out of Wyoming, but okay, I'm putting the search in there. And okay, that answers that. Wyoming does not have any communities here offering cash. Although I do know this, and my friends in Chugwater can help me out with this. For a while, Chugwater, Wyoming I don't think they're doing it anymore. They had all of these homes that were just sitting there, just houses sitting there, nobody in them. And if you let a house just sit around for long enough, it starts to deteriorate. So Chugwater was offering, would you like to move here? There's this little piece of property with a cute little house on it. All you got to do is take it over. Just move here. They desperately needed population, so please, just take the house. Just move in. I don't know if anyone took advantage of that or not, and I don't think that offer is still going on. But for a little while, that was something that was happening in Chugwater. There are other communities around Wyoming who would love to get some people to move in to reestablish their population, but I don't see anywhere where anyone's offering incentives like this. And again, there's really no cash incentive with any of these towns. It's more like, we will give you perks if you decide to move here. The free college seemed like a great idea. Reefer in Carpenter, Wyoming. Stop inviting people to Wyoming. Well, I wasn't inviting anybody to Wyoming. I swear. And there's no place in Wyoming that's offering any kind of incentives. I mean, if anyone was, you would think Carpenter, Wyoming would. You guys are really low in population over there. And it's right over the border. Now, I tell you one person who is inviting people to Wyoming. We had him on last week, and that's the sheriff of Laramie County, Kozak. He's the one who put that billboard up in downtown Denver, and it's up there for about a month, offering to police officers, how would you like to work someplace where we do not defund the police and we actually enforce the law? And he ended up he was on the program, I think it was Friday, and he ended up with quite a few applicants so far. He's not done. The thing's up there for a whole month. But he got quite a few applicants, not just from Colorado, but other parts of the country who were just police officers raising their hands. Yes, I would love that. And even though Wyoming pays less per police officer, but the cost of living here is so much lower. We don't even have a state income tax, that it turns out to be financially worth it. It's one of the reasons I don't mind living here at all. I know if I moved to Denver and took a job at KOA, for example, I would be paid a lot more money. But then there's the cost of living in Denver, and then, of course, there's the state income tax, things like that. So would I get to keep that much money? And the answer is absolutely no. Now, I wonder, this website that's offering that deal for Colorado, I wonder if they're going to offer the same thing for people in California. But here's the thing. Much like my Wyoming citizenship oath, they should do the same thing. We will give you these incentives if you move to our state, to our city. But you got to promise to quit voting the way you were voting before.
Immorality may be fun, but it isn't fun enough to take the place of 100% virtue and 3 square meals a day.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, 888-97. What's the phone number? That's 888-97 WOODS. So here's a couple of stories for your amusement. Someone posted an opinion piece. All right, we're going to have at least 2 presidential debates, right? All right, Biden versus Trump on this one. Now, if you remember, when Biden was going to give the State of the Union address, some people, including me, wondered, is he going to be able to do this? Well, then again, if they make sure he's taking a nice long nappy poo, and then they jack him up on Red Bull, maybe he can get it done. And when he gave his State of the Union address, man, he seemed like he was jacked up on something. His eyes were wide open. He was talking really fast. He normally doesn't do that these days. So what did they do to him was the question, right? So here's the opinion piece titled Drug Testing Prior to the Presidential Debates? ? Donald Trump demanded on Friday that Joe Biden be drug tested ahead of the 2 presidential debates both candidates have agreed to participate in. The former president cited the incumbent State of the Union address in March in his call for drug testing, alleging that Biden was high as a kite when he delivered that speech. Quote, I just want to debate this guy, you know. And I'm going to demand a drug test too. By the way, Trump Republicans during this is recently Trump giving a speech. And so there's a whole opinion piece about this, which I thought was absolutely hysterical. You got to wonder, though, because, well, I don't know how long the debate lasts. I really don't know. I mean, they're going to go an hour and a half. They're going to go an hour. I don't know. Biden really can't last all that long up there. And if they keep him up there for too long, whatever they have him up on, he's going to crash at some point. So let's see. It would be interesting to see if Trump got up there and debated him and the debate goes long. I know they don't do that. They have it specifically timed. But let's say it goes longer than whatever they have Biden on. And so Biden starts to crash. Then we'll see it. But all right, that's the first one. Next story. Auto industry experts warn Biden's electric vehicle mandate may limit car options in the future, you think? When President Biden said America can buy any kind of car they want, he failed to factor in emission standards. This reminds me, remember when with Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, Obama was saying, if you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. And both of those turned out to be a complete lie. You ended up I lost my insurance. They canceled it all. And if you had a favorite doctor, you may not have been able to keep your favorite doctor because the new insurance that you were told you had to buy might send you to somewhere else, somebody else. So that turned out to be a lie. So Biden comes along and says, oh, you can buy any kind of car you want under his rules. No. If you want your car, you can keep it. No. During a speech he delivered Tuesday, Biden did, outside the Rose Garden, Biden focused on protecting U.S. jobs from unfair foreign trade practices, to not allow China to control the market of the internal combustion engine, electric vehicles. He said, I want to make this clear, notwithstanding what the other guy is saying. Can buy a car, any kind of car you want. But we're never going to allow China to unfairly control the market for those car periods, not the other guy. Okay, well, here again, if you like your doctor, you can keep it. If you like your insurance, you can keep it. But under Biden's plan, if you like your car, you can keep it. That's not what he's trying to do. Geoff Moody is Senior Vice President of American Fuel and Petrochemical Manufacturers. And that is an acronym, which is AFPM, a trade association representing companies like Chevron, ExxonMobil, places like that. He said Biden's Environmental Protection Agency regulation is a functional ban on car sales by 2032. He said the policy is going to both limit the availability of gas cars and push the cost of remaining gasoline-powered vehicles out of the reach of everyday Americans, which we know, by the way, is what's happening with electric vehicles, too. Those will also continue to be out of reach. So what exactly are you supposed to drive then? And the idea, well, those electric vehicle prices are coming down only because they have an enormous amount of them sitting in the lot and they're slashing prices at a massive loss. Oh, what was it? Hang on a second. DJ up in Gillette. No, hold on while I go looking for this real quick, folks. Sent me a note. And I've got to find where this was. It had to do, I think it was DJ in Gillette that sent me this. And it had to do with the Tesla vehicles. Let's see, there we go. Okay, it had to do with, it's a her or somebody else. Okay, I'll see if I can find it. But Tesla basically has a problem because so many of the cars are just sitting there not being sold, and they wind up with just an enormous amount of cars just sitting there, not being sold. Now, what do you want to make more? Do you really want to make more vehicles continue? Here, there it is. Thank you, DJ. I did find it. The story is about Tesla manufacturers having a problem. Tesla renting out abandoned parking lot is part of what the story is. And they're closing up shop in some places, too, because people are just not buying their cars. Now, some of the other ones. America at higher blackout risk due to EPA. I'll get to that one hopefully sometime this morning. Mercedes and Volkswagen ditched their EV ambitions. And BBC, I'll click on this story, comes to term with their collapsing EV market. And yet the president is saying, don't worry, you'll be able to buy any kind of car you want. And he hopes to push you into the EV market. Story says BBC is confronting the possibility that the once big promise of a surge in sales in electric vehicles is going flat. Naturally, this is starting to cause panic because all of those pesky climate targets are not going to be met. Only cheap electric vehicles will plug the gap in the tidal wave of the lower-cost Chinese imports, they're saying. So electric car sales are a must if we're going to hit our climate targets, they say, but EV sales in the West are down, and I mean considerably. So there's the BBC trying to come to terms with, I don't know if we're going to achieve our goals here. One more story real quick. Headline for this. Mercedes and Volkswagen ditched their EV ambitions. Okay. It isn't really rocket science. A simple principle, the story says. Manufacturing, if you're building something people want, manufacturing it and people like it, and it's at a good price and it's quality, then, of course, the sales are going to be there. Well, Bloomberg reports on how Volkswagen EV fantasy just collided with reality. Volkswagen walks back EV bus strategy for one, and car strategy as well. Volkswagen's electric vehicle plan is no more. The namesake Volkswagen brand, which at one point they were saying they were going to sell nothing but electric vehicles. And the sales just aren't there for them. So you get the idea. Now the president. I see it, DJ. I found the story. I appreciate it. Now you see this president doing the same thing that Obama did. If you like your car, you can keep it. If you want an internal combustion engine, you can keep it. And you know that's not what he really means. But he's not going to be able to achieve his goals because, as I'm showing you here, the market's falling apart. The sales just aren't there. And they can't incentivize enough to make it happen. Let's wake up Wyoming.
Wednesday.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. Don Day is going to be with us for our live weather reports at 7:45. And there's quite a bit of rain moving across Wyoming. If you're not getting it yet, you probably will at some point. Just the way those bands of showers are moving across the state. It's sort of a weird angle there. So the story that DJ was trying to get to me is Tesla storing unsold inventory in an abandoned mall parking lot. How bad is that? Parking lot full of Tesla vehicles. By the way, during the course of the weekend, I was at Independence Rock, and one of those Tesla pickup trucks, supposed to be a pickup truck, pulled up. Now, you know, everybody has their own taste in things. I think that is ugly. It's just this weird, were they going for futuristic? I don't understand. I just think it's ugly. But anyway, there it was. So I got to see one in person. I've only seen pictures of them before. Parking lot full of Tesla vehicles are becoming impossible to ignore as the electric automakers seemingly can't sell cars and trucks to match the rate of production, which means they have to drastically slow down the rate of production. Well, they're going to have to slow it down to the point that these parking lots filled with vehicles are sold if they can sell them at all. According to its own figures, the electric automaker produced some 46,561 more vehicles than were delivered to customers in the first quarter of 2041. So where are these cars going? Parking lots, malls. They're in the parking lots of factories, malls, and airports. So think about that. That's not just, well, it's one mall parking lot. No, in the parking lots of abandoned factories, malls, and airports. The Chesterfield Mall, about 20 miles west of St. Louis, has become an overflow for Tesla. The mall is slated to be demolished and replaced with a $2 billion mixed-use project. The mall's owner, well, here's a way he can go ahead and at least, while they're tearing down the mall, make a little bit of money renting parking space to Tesla. One of our users happens to be Tesla, he says, who does have a dealership in the valley, does not have enough capacity for all the vehicles they're producing, and they're producing far more vehicles than they're selling. He estimates there are about 300 Teslas in that mall parking lot. Tesla isn't slowing down production, however, which I kind of wonder. I don't know that. I kind of wonder, are they getting paid to produce a certain number of vehicles or something? Why would you keep doing that? It's like Ford losing billions of dollars, and they keep producing electric vehicles that are also just sitting in parking lots. Now, it's not to say that no electric vehicles are being sold. Some are. But it's not taking over the auto industry and replacing the internal combustion engine. That's not happening. So if the demand isn't there, were I in charge of one of these companies, I would say, okay, we're going to halt. I know you don't want to halt production, but we're going to halt production until we sell the vehicles that we currently have. This doesn't make any sense to make more. Now, the downside to that, I guess, or maybe slow production down to a crawl, is because they would have to send everybody home. And if they wanted to restart the factory, that could be a little bit more difficult. So maybe that has something to do with it, but still, you don't keep pushing vehicles out at this pace when there isn't the demand for it. Side note to this, since this is all part of the cult of climate change thing. So I was in the grocery store yesterday, and I'm walking down the frozen food aisle, and I stopped and turned and looked. And I have been making fun of for quite some time this section in the frozen food area. That's like the Impossible Burger, the fake meat burger, and the fake chicken, stuff like that. You're supposed to be eating to save the planet. All right. So I'm looking at their section, and they have doubled its size, which is not saying much, because before that section was just a little corner of the frozen food area. Now it takes up a whole door. If you open up one door in the frozen food, the whole section is all of this Impossible Burger stuff and so on. Now, some of it I'm noticing it's because the packaging is so big. If you buy this stuff, you're buying in bulk. And so it's big packaging. It takes up a lot of room. But that makes me want to watch for a while, because right now that's something else you were supposed to be doing. You were supposed to make the switch from meat to all this fake meat stuff, and you didn't. You were supposed to switch your car from the internal combustion engine to electric vehicles, and you haven't done that yet. And frankly, the left wants to know why. Probably because you're a Nazi or something like that. I don't know. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this, not just at the grocery store, but over the long term. This is not a short-term project in my brain. It's a long-term project to see what are the trends. Because right now the trend says all of this stuff isn't selling. So let's see what happens.
911, hello, I think my friend just died. Okay, I understand. First things first, make sure he's dead, okay? Okay, I got it. Okay, now what?
Well, that image is going to stick with you all. So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day with Day Weather. So, Don, I'm noticing bands of showers coming in, but they're moving sideways. Wait, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I didn't hear you the first time I answered that. All right, so I said bands of showers coming in and moving sideways. So, in other words, not the usual front that we see where bands of showers move across in a wide line, but they're just kind of being blown sideways up through the state.
Well, we have a system that is kind of elongated and stretched out from the Great Basin up into Montana. And the showers are developing along that elongation. So the trend of the showers is for them to form to the west-southwest of us and then move east-northeast. And that's kind of how they're going to go across the state here over the next 48 hours.
Okay, now over the next 48 hours, as the day heats up a little bit, does that mean this activity is going to pick up?
Yeah, it will. This is especially true in the southeast. We do have some risk of severe weather today near the Nebraska-Colorado border areas down in the southeast corner. That area is just kind of on the western edge of a larger area of severe weather that will break out across Colorado and Nebraska and portions of Kansas. So there is a risk of some severe thunderstorms in the far southeast and east. Generally speaking, garden variety showers and thunderstorms elsewhere. But I tell you, it's going to be cool. You'll especially notice the coolness tomorrow. It is going to be cold enough that tonight and tomorrow morning it's going to snow in Wyoming's mountain ranges. There might even be a few flakes of snow reaching down to 6,000 feet tonight. Now, I'm not expecting anybody to have to shovel or anything like that.
Right, yeah.
But if you're going over a mountain pass this evening through tomorrow morning, you're going to be driving through snow.
Okay, because I need to be able to make up my mind. Am I pulling out the lawnmower or the snowblower? I mean, it's at that time of year where you just don't know. All right, so as we look at this, though, so there's still a chance of rain and maybe even a touch of snow for some people tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a cloudy, dreary day tomorrow.
Oh,
kind of
okay.
like it's a Seattle day tomorrow.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, well, that does make us feel better. Okay, so let's get into the rest of the week here, though, because we're on a roller coaster again.
Yeah, as expected this time of year, we're going to warm up a bit midweek, Wednesday and Thursday, as this first system moves out. There's another front coming in late Thursday and Friday. Now, it's not as strong with the cool air, but it will drop temperatures again. It'll bring another batch of showers and thunderstorms our way. And then, of course, everybody wants to know what that 3-day weekend's going to be like. And it's going to be kind of up and down. We're going to probably start off the 3-day weekend a little on the cool side Saturday, starting to see temperatures moderate a bit on Sunday and Monday. It's a little too early to get into specifics, but I think our 3-day weekend is going to be average, meaning it's not going to be the best Memorial Day weekend ever weather-wise, not going to be the worst.
Just do me a favor, clear up the weather when they're ready to take the burgers out to the grill. And that's all we ask.
Well, there you go.
We don't care about the rest of the time. All right. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. All right, so when we head on out to the grill on Memorial Day, that's just that hour or so would be nice to have nice weather to grill on. I mean, off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. A 134-year-old historic Wyoming brothel is back in business, although I assume not as a brothel.
Oh, well, why would people go there?
Well, exactly. Okay, so Cowboy State Daily, 1890, Rose Williams opened a brothel near Meeteetse.
Oh.
And quickly became a popular place with a wide range of clientele.
In Meeteetse?
Yes. Civic leaders. Butch Cassidy was there.
In Meeteetse?
Yes. Does that surprise you? There was
it
a time
does.
that
it's not that all that far from Cody. I mean,
yeah. But I mean, don't think of Meeteetse
really? No.
back like it is today. Think of Meeteetse back then.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a happening place.
Well, with the brothel now, maybe it'll be happening again.
Over the decades, prostitution and brothels fell out of favor with a lot of Wyoming, as you know. 134 years later, Rose Williams Roadhouse Brothel, back in business, sort of, rebuilt, refurbished, authentic looking like it did back then. 6-acre museum is what it is right now.
A 6-acre museum.
Yes.
Dedicated to the brothel.
Well, okay, if you went, just so you know, if you went to one of my favorite places in Wyoming, the Occidental Hotel.
Yes.
You can go upstairs and to the little bedrooms way in the back of upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the brothel.
Uh-huh.
And you can rent one of those little rooms and stay the night there.
Oh, well.
Uh-huh. And they let you know as you walk back there, there's a separate door and it says Bordello Suites.
Oh, the Bordello.
See? So if you would like a romantic weekend, I guess, then you can go ahead and rent out a Bordello room, which is, Frank, about the size of the room that you're in right now.
Well, just enough for two, okay? State High School track and field meet wrapped up on Saturday in Casper. On the girls' side, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East was sensational. She set the overall state record in the long jump, and the overall state record in the 100-meter dash, and the overall state record in the 200-meter dash. That's a pretty eventful weekend, and she will continue her track career at the University of Wyoming. Also on the girls' side, Cheyenne Central's Carson Temple won the triple jump. Kelly Walsh's Tegan Becker placed first in the shot put. Natrona's Bryn Seibert won the discus, and her teammate Allie Wheeler won the 3,200. Laramie won the 4x400 and 4x800 relays. Kelly Walsh took the 4x100. Sheridan took the 4A team title. Lander in 3A, Kemmer in 2A, and Cokeville in 1A. On the boys' side, Kelly Walsh's Landon Walker won both the long jump and the triple jump. In Class 4A, his teammate Caleb Ortberg won the 110 hurdles. Natrona's Caven Hoff placed first in the pole vault. Cheyenne Central won the 4x800 relay. Sheridan won the team title in 4A. Douglas in 3A, Bighorn in 2A, and Burlington in 1A. High school soccer season over the weekend concluded in Sweetwater County. In 4A girls, Kelly Walsh repeated as the state champions with a 3-2 double overtime win over Jackson. In 4A boys, Jackson took top of the podium with a 4-0 win over Cheyenne Central. In 3A girls, Lander beat Cody for the state championship, and in 3A boys, Cody beat Green River for the state title 3-0. High school softball season concluded in Gillette on Saturday. Thunder Basin won the state championship with a 10-0 win over Cheyenne East in that title game. Thunder Basin has won the last 3 state championships in girls softball, and East has finished second 2 years in a row. In the NBA playoffs, a monumental choke by the Denver Nuggets. They lost Game 7 of their playoff series at home to Minnesota last night, 98-90. The Nuggets blew a 20-point lead in the third quarter as Minnesota surged ahead with a 32-9 run. Denver will go down in the history books as the team that blew the largest lead in a Game 7 of the playoffs in the last 25 years. Plus, they lost 3 games of the series at home. Minnesota will play Dallas in the Western Finals, and Indiana will take on Boston in the Eastern Finals. And that's it in sports.
And the Rockies said, hold my beer.
The Rockies may end up being, at the end of this deal, even though they've played a little bit better, they may go down as one of the worst teams ever in Major League Baseball.
Okay.
100 losses is well within their realm. Within their realm.
Okay.
Now, I think the Major League record, I think, for 162 games, is like 120 losses. I mean, that's bad. Really bad. Maybe they're going to get there. Okay. They just wave the white flag and say, you know what, we're just done.
Okay.
You know.
No, this is where I've said before, Frank, if you're going to suck at something, go all the way.
Yeah.
Just go all the way and suck as much as possible. And by God, they're doing it.
And I may just even go down to a game this weekend just to cheer somebody on.
The other team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing Philadelphia. I will never cheer them on.
You'll never cheer
No.
Remember now, I call them Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever asks me why I say Philadelphia, go there. Okay, Frank?
Okay,
So,
I've been there. I didn't see any. Well, maybe I did.
I think yeah. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take here. They're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. Oh, we get into open phones, too. So, 888-97 Woods. Wake up, Wyoming. 8:06 the time. Wake up, Wyoming. It's a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. All right, we're getting into the most dangerous time for this program. Hang on.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when the hits the fan.
Which it does 5 days a week, 6 to 10 o'clock on this program. So it's always dangerous when I release the program to you. So you can talk about what I'm talking about. But if there's something else on your mind, well, jump in, change the subject, that's fine.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOOD. You can talk about what I'm talking about. Change the subject, fine by me. Here's a weird topic for you. And I just brought this up the other day. For some reason, on television, some news item or whatever, they were showing a courtroom in the United Kingdom, Great Britain, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, not just the judges, but the lawyers have to wear the robes, right, with these weird-looking little collar thing going on, and they have to wear those wigs. Now, the judge's wig is a lot more elaborate and bigger than the wigs of the lawyer. And it doesn't matter if the lawyer is male or female or whatever. They all have to put these funny little wigs on, which go way back in history. And I often wondered, why are you still doing this? This doesn't make sense to me. You just look silly. It's tradition. I know they love their tradition. That's why they still have a king and queen over there, which serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever other than they like their royalty over there, so they keep it, even though they don't actually do anything other than walk around acting like royalty. Even though the entire family is a mess filled with nonstop, endless, stupid drama, and they don't produce anything, but, you know, they're royalty. All right, here's the story. And I love the headline for this. Woke scalp. England courtrooms look to ban wigs for being culturally insensitive to people with African hair. So, so this is why. See, I wanted to get rid of the wigs just because they look stupid. That's my reason why. But somebody has to say, well, that's insensitive to people with African. Courts in England are reportedly looking to scrap the requirement for barristers, lawyers, to wear traditional wigs amid claims that they discriminate against lawyers with Afro-Caribbean hair. I don't know why. The wig just sits on top of the head. That's it. You just put it up on top. Women do it, men do it. All right. The ironic manner of dress in English courtrooms may because wokeism, the latest demands that they have, are made to abandon the requirement of barristers to wear the wigs in front of the court for being culturally insensitive, according to the Telegraph. The common practice dates back to 1685. The wearing of wigs came under scrutiny following an incident in 2022 when a black barrister with a large afro hairstyle claimed that he had been facing contempt of court for refusing to wear the wig because he's got this big afro hairstyle and you can't put this little wig on top of that. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. So he's upset about this. You can't make me stop. Well, hang on a second. There was a style for a while, back in the 70s especially. There were women who had big hairdos. In the 80s, too, for that matter. Remember that, ladies? How much Aquanet hairspray did you use? These big hairdos. But women still had to wear that, so they would just have to bring their hair down and put the wig on top. And then when they left, they can go ahead and do whatever they want with it. So, okay, while wigs are still required in the Crown Court, the Court of Appeal, the High Court, the requirement ended in 2007 for family and civil and Supreme Court cases. Arguing in favor of scrapping tradition entirely, the mixed-race barrister said the wigs do not fit any purpose, which I agree with. And what about the hairstyles of some people? Okay. Something overlooked often in black culture, he said, is that your hair is so inexplicably important and its complexity ever interwoven with your identity, she claimed. Prominent barrister of African descent has described the wigs as a ridiculous costume, which I agree with. I do think it's ridiculous, but I wouldn't go to this whole bit that it's culturally insensitive. It's just stupid. Quote, the wig certainly should go. There isn't any place in modern society for barristers to be wearing 17th century fashion, he said this week, adding we should do another dress code. Also, those collars and those robes, ditch those too. Spokesman for the bar said following questions from barristers about wigs and hair discrimination. The Bar Council set up a working group to consider. See, now this is the next thing. And they do this a lot over there in the UK. Everything needs to be settled by having big committee meetings. And we do that too much here in the United States. And my answer to this is don't settle it by some big committee. It's best just to have somebody in charge. You want to make a decision? Who's in charge? That's the guy in charge. Make a call. And if that's what we're going to do, that guy said this, that guy said we're going to ditch it, so we do. Or that guy said we're going to keep it, so we do. That's the person in charge. And maybe someday when you have somebody else in charge, he can go ahead and change the rules. But for the love of God, don't get a big working committee in there. Now, if I could have my way, all I would say is, yes, we do need some kind of a dress code. And that is lawyers need to walk in at least looking professional. I mean, nice jacket and tie would be good, something like that. Just define in simple terms what professional looks like. And people walking into court, whether they're the lawyer or on the defense side or the prosecution side as, the people involved in the case, they also need to be dressed appropriately. This is one of those things that you get dressed up to go. Okay, you're going to, no matter who you are in that courtroom, you're going to look professional. That's all I would do as a standard. And then I would just set some basic rules for what professional means. And we should be able to define that easily. But don't get that done. Don't have a whole, like they're going to do here, have a whole committee sit down and decide this. That's just, that just makes more of a mess.
You know how people are using pronouns these days, like she, him, her, them, theirs? I want you to start using adjectives when you address me, like spectacular, outstanding, phenomenal, audacious.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Change the time, almost 8:20. Head on over to the phones. Rick is in Cheyenne. Morning, Rick.
Hey, good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Good, sir. Thanks for waiting through all that break. What you got for me?
Hey, just real quick, my personal opinion on Tesla is that he's burning through all the taxpayer-funded subsidies. And as soon as he gets done burning through those, he's probably obligated to meet a specific quota. He's going to use that as a reason for a tax deduction as a loss on product that he's created. So he'll get more money in taxes back that way.
Makes sense. And he certainly is using the system to milk everything out of it.
Absolutely. Without question. That's how he's doing it, and the taxpayers are funding his income.
Yeah, and that's the same reason why other automakers are trying to make electric vehicles at a loss because of all the subsidies. And we can do the same thing for wind and solar power, things like that. It's all heavily subsidized. Yes, without it, it would have collapsed a long time ago.
Absolutely. We need to cut the subsidies so the taxpayers can keep their money.
All
and
right.
if these companies want to do something, they can keep their money.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Well, now let me expand on that a little bit. Because I've said this for a long time. I don't have a problem. Look, you want to do wind and solar? You want to do electric cars? Do it. That's fine. I have just a couple of things that I want in return. Right? First off, no subsidies. None. That means taking money from the taxpayers and giving it to these companies. If they want to do it, they're going to have to get out there and raise the money themselves. Okay, that's what a free market does. Don't subsidize anything. And if it makes it, it makes it. Next, don't lie about it. Don't tell us it's clean, green, sustainable, reliable, affordable, et cetera, et cetera. None of that's true. In fact, a few weeks ago, I went through the wind and solar industry and showed that no wind farm or solar farm produces anywhere near the amount of electricity that they promised. Just like electric vehicles don't get the range you were promised. And when you start to haul something with them, tow it or haul it, it gets even less range. And also, it's zero emission at the source, yeah, but you got to charge the thing, so it's not zero emissions. There's so many lies that we've told. we were told, over all of this. So no subsidies and don't lie about it. Other than that, good luck in the free market. And if it makes it, then okay, cool. All right, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOOD. As you can do what Rick just did there, change the subject if you want. This is a completely different topic. I mean, totally. When I was about to say totally out of left field, I never really thought about it that way. It is out of left field, isn't it? All right, first time I ever really put that together. This is really out of left field. It's begun. Death is the new treatment for depression. Now, hang on. Before I read this story, you ever listen to where they have a drug that they would like to take for antidepressants, basically, to get you on some kind of antidepressant, put you in a better mood, or at least a different mood that's not as bad, right? And if you listen to the commercials for these things, oftentimes one of the side effects is suicidal tendencies. And my thought is always, hold on. Wasn't that what we were trying to get rid of? I don't think your antidepressant works really well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think antidepressants work well if one of the side effects is suicidal tendencies. Jeez. Try our antidepressant. Side effect, depression. So, all right, Dutch and Canadians are in a race to see which country can come up with the most excuses for killing their citizens, says this author, with the Canadians pulling off their move to kill people with mental illness for a while. Dutch are rushing to the lead, perhaps, though the Canadians will respond. We'll see, making death for acne or whatever. 29-year-old Dutch woman who is perfectly healthy has been granted the ability to kill herself by assisted suicide, and the reason why is, well, she's just depressed. She suffers from depression, and she wants to commit suicide, so they want to help her. Now, again, isn't this a problem we were trying to solve, suicide prevention? They want to legalize it. Suicide hotlines will remain a thing, but they still transition from suicide prevention to suicide scheduling. So in other words, I need help. I'm thinking of killing myself. Sure, when would you like to stop by and see a doctor? And we'll talk about what kind of drug we can use. That's basically what we're talking about here. This author says it's insane, and when I say this is a person with deep personal experiences with suicidal relationships, the author of this article, bipolar depression, stuff like this, speaks as someone who knows. Treating depression is hard, he writes, really hard. Finding the right combination of drugs and therapy is very difficult to do. So I'm reading an article written by someone who struggles with this issue. Death works too if you don't care about life. It has a 100% success rate. However, isn't this what we're trying to prevent? I mean, do they think that this, I don't know, as I read this, because I've never thought about this kind of a thing before, do they think that doing this is some form of compassion? Because I was always raised to believe that the compassion is, if you see someone standing on a really high bridge or top of a building and they want to jump, the compassionate person talks them down and lets them know that life is absolutely worth living. And whatever it is going through your head, we can work through this. And I've read many stories written by and or told to by people who they tried suicide and it didn't work. They blew it. They didn't commit suicide. And then they later regret having even tried it in the first place. And they end up thinking that life is wonderful. And they can't believe that they got to a stage where they thought that that was something that they were going to do. So here we try to rescue people from suicide. But here's a country thinking that suicide is compassionate. This author says, why do so few people, note the obvious, treating people with chronic disease costs a lot more than killing them off? That's what these countries are rushing headlong into doing. He writes, it's not to dispute, I'm suggesting suicide to people as a path of to release Well, you get the idea, though. Okay, death with dignity is what they're pushing here. The story goes on and on like this. I never thought I would read a story like that. I honestly never did. But now it's considered compassionate. I just want to kill myself. Here, let me help you. That's not what compassion is, but that's what they're trying to say it is. Now, next story up here on that same note, suicide risk are 1,200% higher after gender-affirming surgery. This is someone, and I'll just briefly go into this, who has done a study on those people who have had gender reassignment treatment, the hormones, the surgery, so on. And it turns out that the odds of those people attempting or even committing suicide is vastly higher. So whatever problem they were hoping to solve by going through the hormone treatment and the surgery and so on, in most cases is not solved. Which leads me to believe that something else is at issue here. I'm not a psychologist, I don't know. But it makes me think if the suicide rate is so high among the people who've had transgender surgery, then maybe there was some other issue that we need to be dealing with. And somebody should look into that, find out what is actually the issue here. Because apparently all of this reassignment surgery is not only not working, it's making matters worse. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. After news time, update on your weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again with a nice long segment of open phone. So 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. It's Monday. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wednesday. If it's happening in Wyoming, it's on Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods from K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
.36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. All right, phones are open, so you can change the topic if you want. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Which one next? Let's see. How about this one? Okay, this is new. I did that one. That was just a weird story there. There's the English courtroom. Okay. So let's talk about DEI for just a moment. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. So did you know that Stanford University has 177 DEI employees? Yeah, how many per students would that be? So, no, and I think it's more than the entire freshman class. Hang on, this is good. Mike is in Laramie. Morning, Mike.
Good morning, Glenn. One correction on a term you used earlier in the broadcast about Colorado. You were talking about their Californiaizing.
Yes.
The correct term is Californicated, please.
Oh, okay. I just didn't want to say fornicated on the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just didn't.
But about the physician-assisted suicide.
Yes.
There are some states in this country, I think Oregon and Montana are a couple that do that.
Yeah.
But what happened to doctors taking an oath to do no harm?
Right.
As our moral code is so degenerated that killing somebody for a medical reason is okay now?
Right. Yeah. Well, and for that matter, it is considered compassionate when someone says, I just feel like killing myself, to say, yes, let me help you.
But why do you need a doctor if you want to kill yourself?
Well, some people would, first off, would not be able to do it properly themselves. They're going to blow it. That happens a lot. And so they would rather have it done by a professional who will guarantee results in the least painful way.
I see. I mean, how long will it be before this is claimed to be a right and a doctor is forced to help you to do it, even if he disagrees with it?
You see, you just brought up a really great point. At some point, doctors will be forced to, because it's considered to be a right. And since we've reached the point now with the whole cult of climate change, remember the movie Soylent Green?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was assisted suicide at the end.
Yes, it was. But and then another thing is, right now, medical students are being forced to learn how to perform abortions. Will they be forced to learn how to assist in suicides in the future?
Yeah.
If you want to become a doctor. And the big point I want to make is, why is it if you have an MD after your name, you can kill someone and not go to prison?
Mm-hmm.
If I supplied you with the means to kill yourself, I'd go to jail.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Well, I guess it's because you're a professional and you have a lot of college debt. I don't know.
Probably so.
Yeah.
It's a sad commentary on what's happening to our moral and ethical values when we reach this point.
Yeah. I hadn't thought, I'm glad you brought that up, that at some point a doctor would be forced to go down this path, that you can't deny them service on this because they've requested it. Therefore, you have to.
I don't know what we've got to get the moral value. We've reached a moral what was it? Dennis Patrick Moynihan. We defined deviancy down.
Yes, really is. Well, and for those people more of the biblical scholars, the good will become evil. Or the evil will become good. Excuse me. Things that were bad are now going to be considered a good thing. All right.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen further with this.
All right.
Thanks for your time,
Thanks
Glenn.
for calling, Mike. I appreciate it. If you're just joining me on the conversation. So, Netherlands, I think is what I was talking about, where they've come up with this idea now that if someone is thinking about taking their own life, and it's just because, depression and so on, then they can go ahead and get help for that person by trying to talk them out of it. If they call a suicide hotline, they can go ahead and get help so they won't commit suicide. Or possibly they can get help committing suicide if that's what they want. And that's considered to be a compassionate thing. And that's what Mike and I are talking about. How did we get to the point where that's considered compassionate when absolutely it's not? And as I was mentioning earlier, I've seen this a lot of these studies where people who have attempted suicide and failed for either or somebody saved them regretted having ever gone down that path. They can't believe they ever got to the point where they were thinking about such a thing. And now they love life and can't imagine that they would ever try something like that again. That's a large percentage of the people who've attempted suicide, and for whatever reason it didn't happen, ended up later on thinking, why did I ever try to do that? I'm so glad that it didn't happen. I'm glad that I'm alive. But now here's the discussion. In one country anyway in the world, so you're having suicidal thoughts? Here, let me help you with that. That's not what compassion should be. That should never be considered compassion. And yet, if they're going down that road, again, we have to, Mike brings up a really good question. Then do we have to turn to the doctor and say, well, they've requested it, they've asked for it, therefore, you're a doctor, you have to help them? And the same question that Mike brought up, which is do no harm. That's the oath that you take, do no harm. Well, I guess that's not considered harm anymore? This is really going down a path that this should not happen. I don't understand how we get to this train of thought, which, by the way, that doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly over a period of time. Yeah, I know that one illogical thought leads to the next illogical thought, but it's something that slowly happens over a period of time. It never happens overnight. And eventually we are all involved in something really weird, bizarre, sick, disturbing, deadly. You could ask the same question as to how do we wind up with a Nazi Germany? Why did all those people follow Hitler? How does that happen? Take a look at a cult that commits suicide, like, remember Reverend Jim Jones, suicide cults. How do they wind up like that? I mean, it's one twisted idea that becomes a bigger twisted idea that becomes a bigger twist. And eventually we wind up with Reverend Jim Jones in cult. This is where we wind up. And oftentimes society as a whole sits back and wonders, how could that have ever happened? Well, it is a slow deterioration. And for some reason, nobody stops it. There's nobody who stands up. If somebody does, I shouldn't say nobody. Some people try to stand up and stop it, but they're often put down by the majority of the lemmings that just want to go along with the whole thing. And we sit back years later, decades later, scratching our head, how did that ever happen? We got to make sure that never happens again. And it happens again. It does. If you're thinking, well, I don't understand, because it's irrational is why. If you're a rational person, you won't understand it. Rational people cannot understand irrational behavior.
Do I point out that it's not cow? Like, hamburger is a pig. Everyone knows ham comes from pig.
Holy Moses on a rocket-powered pogo stick. Bless her heart. Wait till she finds out about buffalo wings. It's going to absolutely blow her down.
He's talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So this, I think, is a great idea for a story. Frank, a good reporter, is always looking for something. There is in Cowboy State Daily a story about a Gillette woman who is a great-grandma, and she is a convenience store worker on the overnight shift and refuses to retire.
Which one does she work at?
Let's see here. Works a night shift. Big D Quick Shop in Gillette.
I've seen her.
Okay.
I have seen her.
Sweet lady.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. I agree with her. See, okay, here's what's going to happen. At some point, Frank, they're going to come in here to try to pull me out because I'm going to be too old, and I will be beating them with my walker. You know, the one with the tennis balls on the back end of it?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to stop either. She just can't stop. She needs a purpose to get out of bed every day, and she doesn't care. She's going to keep going.
Well, I hope I'm sure you see a lot of different kind of people.
Yeah.
I mean, not just locally. I mean, like during the summer. That's right. If this is the one that I'm thinking about, it's right on highway, by I-90 and Highway 50.
Yeah.
So you'll see a pretty interesting crowd just about every day.
Every day, sure. I was watching this as a video, but it was a study that was done a little while ago.
A study?
I like some studies are good. And they went to an old folks home where there's a bunch of doddering old people. And they would say, different old folks home around the country, and they would say, we want you to pretend for the next week that you're like 13 years old. And they played the music from that era. They played those games. Just go back in your mind and just pretend and act like and run around and play. By the end of the week, these people are not just physically, but mentally much better off. And
sure, yeah.
So much of it is a state of mind.
That's half the battle, is it not?
Yes. Exactly right.
I mean, like from day one until whenever. I mean,
yeah.
There you go.
There you
go. Bless her soul. I mean, I'm saying you run into she should write a book.
Yeah.
Really.
That'd probably be a good idea. Yeah. And I would say after all of these years experience, especially working overnight on a highway convenience store, I would say as sweet as she is, don't mess with her. She survived all of this time for a reason.
Yeah, please leave her alone. State high school track and field meet wrapped up in Casper over the weekend. On the girls' side in Class 4A, Talia Morris of Cheyenne East had a weekend to remember. She set the overall state record in the long jump, the overall state record in the 100-meter dash, and the overall state record in the 200-meter dash. She will continue her track career at the University of Wyoming. Also on the girls' side, from 4A, Cheyenne Central's Carson Temple won the triple jump. Kelly Walsh's Tegan Becker placed first in the shot put. Natrona Prince Cyber wins the discus. Her teammate Allie Wheeler won the 3,200 meters back on Thursday. Thursday. Laramie won the 4x4 and 4x800 relays. Kelly Walsh took the 4x100. Sheridan won the 4A team title for the ladies. Lander in 3A, Kemmer in 2A, and Cokeville in 1A. On the boys' side, Kelly Walsh's Landon Walker won 2 events in 4A, the long jump and the triple jump. His teammate Caleb Ortberg won the 110 hurdles. Latrona's Caven Hoff placed first in the pole vault. Cheyenne Central won the 4x800 relay. Sheridan won the team title in 4A, Douglas in 3A, Bighorn in 2A, and Burlington in 1A. The high school soccer season ended over the weekend in Sweetwater County. In 4A girls, Kelly Walsh repeated as the state champions with a 3-2 overtime victory over Jackson. In 4A boys, Jackson took the top of the podium with a 4-0 win over Cheyenne Central. In 3A girls, Lander beat Cody 2-1 for the state championship, and in 3A boys, Cody over Green River 3-0 for the state title. In high school softball, the season concluded in Gillette on Saturday. Thunder Basin won that state championship game with a 10-0 win over Cheyenne East. Thunder Basin has now won the state title 3 years in a row, and East has finished second 2 years in a row. In the NBA playoffs, is the monumental choke by the Denver Nuggets. They lost Game 7 of their playoff series to Minnesota at home last night, 98-90. The Nuggets blew a 20-point lead in the third quarter as Minnesota surged ahead with a 32-9 run. Denver will go down in the history books as the only team that blew the largest lead in a Game 7 in the last 25 years. Plus, they lost 3 games at home in the series. Minnesota will play Dallas in the Western Finals, and Indiana takes on Boston in the Eastern Finals. And that's it in sports.
So, wait, who was it 3 years in a row?
Oh, the Thunder Basin girls softball team.
Wow, go Thunder Basin!
Yeah,
that's pretty good here.
Yeah, that's not. It's hard to do once, much less 3 times.
Well, especially when you're a school and you got people rotating out over time. I think I told you about my high school that had an outstanding name a sport. They were going to state and winning it. But then, not only did people graduate, the school got too big, and they separated it into a total of 3 schools.
Yeah. And that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's a really difficult time recovering from all of that.
You got to really dig deeper for.
Yes.
Sometimes really you get a quality collection of kids for 2 or 3 years, and you ride that car as far as you can. Then you have to start over again.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. I got to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. It is open phone, so 888-97 Woods, 888-97 WOODS. Wake up, Wyoming.
Need some gasoline about to pass the mail. It's always been a red light.
Six the time. Wake up, Wyoming, Monday. On the rainy side today for much of Wyoming. If you haven't gotten any yet, you soon will be.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when the hits the fan.
And it does daily on this program. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So you can call, interrupt me. That's fine. I'll go ahead and just kind of roll with it. But in the meantime, though, going to take a little bit of time to... We'll do something we always like on this program. Pick on California. See, Dave from San Francisco, that would be California. He calls this program from California and tells us what we're doing wrong in Wyoming and how we should do it for the San Francisco. Well, San Francisco is a mess. So we'd rather just do it our way. Thank you very much. And that's part of the reason that I pick up California all the time, because, it's low-hanging fruit for a guy like me when I want to make a point. So Oakland. Oakland blames homeless encampments for removing traffic lights. Well, okay, so Oakland, California is removing traffic lights. The reason is to stop copper thieves. A California city removed traffic lights from a four-way intersection as the city grapples with thefts attributed to a massive homeless encampment nearby. Well, okay, you tell me if it's me. I'm just going to go out on a limb, okay? If you were the mayor of Oakland, which would you remove? Would you remove the traffic light so they don't steal the copper? Or would you remove the homeless encampment and keep the traffic light and keep the copper? Which would you? See, I would be in favor of removing the homeless encampment. If these guys are going to be stealing from us, they're out of here. And just run them out of town. Oakland has been experiencing high crime, theft, including people stealing copper wires from the city's infrastructure, according to locals on the local TV station. City attempted to thwart criminals tampering with its electric boxes by placing cement barriers over them to no avail. Now the city has taken to removing traffic lights on busy intersections and replacing them with stop signs. Quote, "It's just telling us the city is giving up on us," said one guy who runs an auto body repair shop. "If you really want to fix the problem with a stop sign, I think maybe just clean up the homeless encampment." Oh, see, now there's a guy who lives in the area who agrees with me. I thought I was being outrageous or something. Not really. Don't get rid of the stoplight, get rid of the homeless encampment. The lights have been working on and off for months due to criminals tampering with the electricity and stealing wires. One local man, Mason Young, said it's becoming extremely dangerous to even just drive through the intersection. We got to stop putting our Band-Aids on things, he said. We're bleeding out at this point. Violent crime in Oakland has increased 22% this year, according to the most recently available police data, which also show a nearly 10% increase in commercial burglary. In September, over 200 business owners shut down their store to strike against the government handling of public safety and rising crime. The protest was held days after city officials admitted to missing a deadline to apply for state funding to fight retail theft. Same month, Oakland city leaders launched a grant program to provide funding for small business owners to hold events like workout classes, musical performances to draw customers. So that's their idea. Okay, hang on. This is their idea. We're going to help because the homeless population is running off customers. We're going to give money to the businesses so they can put on events to bring customers back. This brings me back to the original solution that I had. Run off the homeless people. If they're going to be this much trouble, you can't stay here. I mean, look, if somebody winds up homeless and they have a problem, we have homeless shelters, of course, and California does. But if they decide they're going to stay out there anyway, okay, but you can't be in any trouble. And the moment they become trouble, okay, you're out of here. And if their answer is, where am I supposed to go? It's not my problem, but not here because you're a problem here. All right, next one. California ranks last in opportunity due to high cost of living. The budget that Governor Newsom released last week contains hundreds of spending reductions and other actions to close what he says a $44.9 billion deficit. Just 2 years ago, they had a $97.5 billion surplus. Now they have a $44.9 billion deficit. What happened in 2 years? And many of this, I'm not a bad guy for doing this. I don't think I am. I laugh at them because one of the things Newsom's going to do is close down a lot of things that fight climate change. And you know he's really big on climate change. But if the end is nigh, then you can't shut those things down, can you? But he's going to. According to a new state ranking, California ranks dead last in opportunities due to its high cost of living, says U.S. News and World Report. The report uses the cost of living, economic opportunity, and equality to create its opportunistic metric. California is the nation's worst cost of living. It was the main driver of the opportunity ranking, and its economic opportunity and income inequality were both better than more than half of the American states. I mean, really just some of the worst in America, if not the worst. The situation with the state budget and corresponding tells us the part of the story. In 2024 through 25 state budget, Gavin Newsom released at least 2 weeks where he contained hundreds of spending reductions over that 2-week period. Other actions to close what he says is a $44.9 billion deficit. Just 2 years early, again, $97.5 billion in the red. What happened? Quote, California was a birthplace for opportunity, where our ancestors came to seek a better life, said one Republican in the state. There are a few Republicans left in the state. Housing, electricity, gas continue to rise. Inflation, in other words, out of control. California housing is so expensive the typical house requires a household income of about $224,000 or 3 times the median household income that most people can afford. Gas price out of control. I know quite a few people who moved to California. They were seeking opportunity there. And they ended up just packing up and moving out because they just could not believe the high cost of living, which is why there's a lady I know in Chugwater who was homeless in California until she moved to Chugwater, Wyoming, and now she's doing fine. Answer was, cost of living made her homeless. Tim and Casper, why not just leave a pile of copper wire by the lights? Then they wouldn't destroy the lights. Well, here's the problem, Tim. After they steal that pile of copper wire, they're going to want more copper wire. You're just going to keep leaving more and more copper wire? If they're going to go through all the work to steal the copper wire, then why not just get a job?
Woke Radio, WOK! Time to get up, everybody, and go to work. You know you don't have anywhere to go, so let's play some soft, easy favorites that'll help you sleep in until noon. Go ahead.
Wednesday. This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
.36 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Rick called just a moment ago. I want to pick up on something he said, because he got me thinking about some things here. So let's take a look at energy in Wyoming, but energy in America. Making electricity, coal, gas, and oil, stuff like that. And what are the problems that we're facing right now with unreliable energy and a good part, and high prices too? Well, there are people who are currently in government now, and I'm not picking on any particular party, I'm picking on everybody in government now, including not just elected officials, but bureaucracy, who don't have an understanding of the free market or any faith in it. And I think the lack of faith in a free market is because they have no understanding of it. And so their idea is to get control of everything. We've got to control prices. We've got to control output and input. We have to control how they make that electricity, what kind of energy they use from this. I mean, it's control, rather than letting the free market just do its thing. We've got to give tax breaks to this and subsidies to that, but don't give those same tax breaks and subsidies to these other people, because we want to de-emphasize that kind of energy in favor of this kind of energy. They don't know what works best, and they don't trust the free market. That's a big part of it. If you're wondering how do we fix all of this, not with the current crop of people we have in government. Again, not just elected officials, but bureaucracy too. to get people into government who have a better understanding of how the free market works and will get government out of it. That's what we need. I mean, imagine here, and I've said this before, this is all I want government to do when it comes to energy. I want them to make sure that it's done honestly so we, the consumers, are not being ripped off in any way. So they have to do business in an honest way. That's okay. That's good for government to do that, to enforce that. Also, make sure that the people who create the energy, whatever that energy might be, coal, gas, oil, electricity, that they don't pollute. CO2 is not a pollutant. Okay? It's good to pump CO2 into the air. It's not a pollutant. So let's get that out of there. Other than that, let's just make sure. I don't want oil spills. Neither do you. You know, I want clean air. I don't want garbage being pumped into our air. So, yeah, clean air, clean water, clean ground. That's fine. You know, and that's what government can do. But let's not have a ton of regulations. Here's one thought I had a while ago. If I were in charge of the EPA and there was a factory, and the factory wanted to locate on a river so they could use the water, as director of the EPA, I would tell the factory this: we are going to go and sample the water before it gets to your factory and you suck it in to use it, and after. And water needs to be of the same quality, before and after. Now, how you achieve that, we don't care, but you're going to achieve that. And any bad byproducts, you're not going to go take them and just dump them on the land somewhere or something like that. You're going to figure out how to do this so your factory is not making some toxic mess. How you achieve that is up to you. This is how we get rid of a lot of government control and rules and regulations and so on. Makes a whole lot more sense. Let the factory figure out how the factory is going to get it. Then we just tell them what the goal is. And then just let the factory figure out how they're going to go ahead and get it done. And they'll get it done in the most efficient, cost-effective way. The least efficient, most expensive way is when government bureaucracy comes in and tries to run everything. Well, nobody in your government knows how to run a power plant. Nobody in your government knows how to run, let's say, right up the road from here, Sinclair is refining oil. They don't know how to run that. They don't know how to drill for oil or dig for coal. They know nothing about it. And yet they're trying to run it. And there's the problem. We really will not get out of the mess that we're in, the hole that we're digging for ourselves, until we get people in office and in the bureaucracy who have a clear understanding of how the free market works and faith in it. Because right now they have faith in government and not the free market, which is where we wind up in trouble, which is why the government stranglehold gets worse every single year. And the products you're trying to rely on for a living, and I mean even to heat your house in the winter and cool it in the summer and cook food and so on, that kind of stuff, is less and less reliable and more expensive all the time because of the people who are trying to, let's put this in air quotes, fix it.
Solid, respectable Republican business. That's what makes America, Harley.
My folks were Democrats, John.
Yeah, and look where it got you. A lifetime on the range and sweating in the summer and freezing in the winter and sleeping on the ground and fighting the wolves and the rattlesnakes. No, Harley. There can't be a finer calling in the whole world than being a Republican businessman.
I don't like to dispute you, Don, but didn't you always vote Democratic?
Well, that was when I didn't know any better. Harley, I want you to do me a favor. You don't tell anybody here in Cheyenne I ever voted Democratic. You'll do that for me, won't you?
If you say so.
Thank you.
John, you don't mind if I still vote Democratic, do you?
Just so long as you're not seen with me when you...
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:48 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I assume your cat is a 100% indoor cat?
Totally.
Okay. Make sure that that cat doesn't get outside, because since they're not used to outside, bad things happen.
Like what? Did they run away?
Indoor cat named Pepper spent 2 days outside, stuck halfway up a cliff in Rock Springs.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they had to call the fire department?
Well, no fire department. There was a guy who was military anyway, retired. But he had learned some rock climbing there, and he was able to work his way up and grab the cat and bring the cat all the way down. So, yes, cat is doing just fine, and I bet the cat, I mean, I can imagine a cat looking at the cliff and going, hey, I bet I can climb that, like kids do.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I used to do.
They defy...
Yes.
Logical explanation.
Very, very much so. Okay, so then you get up there. First off, the people would have to look around the house going, where did the cat go? Next thing you know, they have to wonder about looking up to see if it's up, because the cliff is up behind the house.
Oh, okay.
At some point, the cat starts making noise. Oh, that's where the cat is.
Way up over here.
Yeah, got up there, can't figure out. Then you got to figure out how to get it down. And apparently the idea of let's spread a bed sheet out and hold it up.
No, that's not going to work.
The cat's not going to jump into that.
What happened to days where the cats would just climb the tree and then they called the fire department?
Okay, I have an answer to that. Rock Springs. Okay. What tree?
They must have trees.
There's probably one in Rock Springs somewhere, but nowhere near where the cat was.
Well, yeah.
So that's where the problem comes from, Frank. You want a cat to climb a tree, you're going to need a tree in the first place. You're talking Rock Springs, Wyoming.
Understandable.
Yeah. Okay, so then the next question, I appreciate the guy who climbed up.
Totally, yeah.
And brought the cat down. But then, of course, the next question is, why don't you call either the fire department or somebody with some kind of a cherry picker or something like that? Because it is Wyoming, after all. We have all sorts of equipment that can reach way up high.
Well, in that case, if they call the fire department to be like, get out of here, we're not going up there. We got things to do.
Well, you see it all the time. You see, even around where you live, you see these companies that have these machines that have the cherry picker on it.
Bucket things,
okay.
yeah.
I'm sure you can go, hey, I got a cat problem. Can I rent one of these for a couple of hours?
Yeah, and it'll cost you $500.
Right. So okay. I think that's why we just solved the problem. Why do you send the guy up to climb it by himself? Because damn, those things are expensive to rent. Damn cat.
Oh yeah. State high school track and field meet did conclude on Saturday in Casper. For the 4A girls, Talia Morris of Cheyennes had a weekend to remember. She set the overall state record in the long jump, the overall state record in the 100-meter dash, and the overall state record in the 200-meter dash. Plus, she was on the 4x100 relay team that finished second, and she will continue her track career at the University of Wyoming. Also on the girls' side in 4A, Cheyenne Central's Carson Temple won the triple jump. Kelly Walsh's Tegan Becker placed first in the shot put, and the Toronto's Brent Seibert wins the discus. Her teammate Allie Wheeler won the 3,200-meter run. Laramie won the 4x400 relay and the 4x800 relay. Kelly Walsh took the 4x100. Sheridan won the girls' 4A team title. Lander in 3A, Kemmerer in 2A, and Cokeville in 1A. On the boys' side, Kelly Walsh's Landon Walker won two events, the long jump and the triple jump in 4A, and his teammate Caleb Ortberg won the 110 hurdles, and the Toronto's Kevin Hoff placed first in the pole vault. Cheyenne Central won the 4x800 relay. Sheridan won the team title in 4A, Douglas in 3A, Bighorn in 2A, Burlington in 1A. High school soccer, the season ended over the weekend in Sweetwater County. In 4A girls, Kelly Walsh repeated as the state champions with a 3-2 overtime win over Jackson. In the 4A boys bracket, Jackson took the state championship with a 4-0 win over Cheyenne Central. In 3A girls, Lander over Cody for the state championship, and in 3A boys, Cody defeated Green River 3-0 for the state title. High school softball, the season concluded on Saturday in Gillette. Thunder Basin beat Cheyenne East 10-0 in that championship game. Thunder Basin now has won the state title 3 years in a row. East has finished second 2 years in a row. In the NBA playoffs, just a monumental choke by the Denver Nuggets. They lost Game 7 of their playoff series at home to Minnesota last night, 98-90, and blew a 20-point lead in the third quarter in the process as Minnesota surged ahead with a 32-9 run. Denver will go down in the history books as the team that blew the largest lead in a Game 7 of the NBA playoffs in the last 25 years. Plus, they lost 3 games at home in the series. Minnesota will play Dallas in the Western Finals, and Indiana will take on Boston in the East. And that's it in sports.
What you never want to do is you can have a wonderful life, Frank, a really wonderful life. Then you do that one stupid thing.
And then people will remember you for that.
And that's what you go down in the history books for, because you did that one boneheaded thing.
Somehow, and then it also works on the other end, too. If you do something exceptional, you would hope that you're remembered for that, too. Like, yes. I try to stay in, like, the land of mediocrity.
Right, yeah, so nobody remembers you at all.
Right, yeah.
Well, don't worry, Frank. I can guarantee you, when you finally kick the bucket, nobody's going to remember you.
Well, somebody ought to. The people I owe money will.
Well, okay. Okay, well, we do have them. And I don't want to know anyone you owe money to, because they'll come asking for me.
Yeah,
I don't have...
That's my accountant over here.
No, I know. Bye, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming.